Hey guys, we talked about what the best teams in version 2.8 will be. We made a poll plan, we made tier list and whatnot. But how would these best teams actually rank against each other? What team would be first place, what team would be the second best team, and so on and so forth. Now there's of course a little bit of speculation here, because version 2.8 is not out, so we miss some information that we would need in order to figure the exact ranking out. But like the first two teams, the number 1 and number 2, what those teams are gonna be, that is crystal clear. Now between rank 3, 4 and 5, that depends on a little bit of more things, so let's talk about it. This is gonna be a top 5 and we're gonna start off talking about rank number 5, which will be the follow-up team. But hold your horses for now and first hear me out talking about the other teams as well. So Jiu Nangzhe, she will receive her Euphoria in version 2.7, and with that she will be a top 3, top 4 main DPS character in the game. So that slot is already pretty good. Then we have Flutterpage, with being one of the best sub DPS / support characters, if you will, in the entire game. Also this slot is slotted with a top tier. And to round this all off, we have the unmatched number 1 best healer without any competition in the entire game, which is Fatutu. Those 3 alone already make up such a stacked roster with only top tier characters that all synergizes beautiful with each other. Now the problem, and why I put this only at rank 5, is the 4th slot. Here you would be good slotting in 37. A little bit outclassed, not quite where we would want her to be anymore, but I make no mistake, right? Like, this is still a top 5 tier. Like every single character, every single team here is really good. We're talking about the best stuff that this game will have to offer at the 2nd anniversary. So yeah, keep that context in mind, please. But yeah, 37, not exactly a top tier, but a perfect fit for this team. So pretty awesome there. You could switch out 37 and put Liang Yue, with her first portray of course, into this team and be fine. And then also Anionala. But yeah, all these characters are... Liang Yue is a pretty weak release, all things considered. And then we have Anionala and 37 that are a little bit... yeah, power crept, a little bit outclassed. Like, Anionala is the best character out of these 3, no question, but she has the less amount of synergy between these 3, and 37 would have the most. So yeah, this slot is a tiny little bit lackluster considering the context that we talk about here, and that's why I put this team on rank number 5. And now let's move on to team number 4 and talk about that one as well. And here it is, rank number 4, it's the impromptu team. Now this team could rise to rank number 3 or drop down to rank number 5 depending on your account situation. So let me first of all tackle the question that I get asked this question a whole bunch. So let me talk about this one final time. In my previous videos, in my tier lists and my poll plans, I talked about you should skip Aleph. And now for very good reason, get asked this question time and time again. Straw, why in the world would anyone, even if they play impromptu, why would anyone ever skip Aleph? You even say yourself, he's a best in slot in the impromptu team, which is one of the best teams in the game moving forward. He has this +1 AP mechanic. Like, how in the world would you say skip Aleph? Let me explain that one more time, why everyone even the impromptu players should skip Aleph. It is because of his unfortunate release timing. He is brought into a patch, like in version 2.5, you already had to pull for pickles, because you will need pickles for Recoleta. Who gets Aleph released with together with Recoleta? That's an absolute must pull. You have to pull for Recoleta. You also will probably want to pull for Melania then, right? You want to play them all together, because they make up an even better team than this impromptu team in the future. Then, so, like, okay, you would have to pull for pickles. You need to pull for Recoleta. You would want to pull for Melania. And in the next version, you would also pull for Kiparina. And after Kiparina, we have the second anniversary, which you also definitely want to pull for, and you need resources there. So those are so many characters, that are so many resources that you have to spend. Like, even in the very next version, after Aleph, you have the #1 must pull character for this impromptu team. That is the true unskippable must have character, not Aleph. And you will have to make your decision. You have to skip something to keep track of your resources. You will have to save up somewhere. You cannot pull on every single possible thing. And again, if you plan to play impromptu, you have Baccarola, you have Voyager, you have Matilda, and you're gonna get Regulus and 2.8. The team is full. You don't necessarily need Aleph, right? And again, like, don't get me wrong when I say this. Aleph is a very, very good character. He is a best in slot in this impromptu team, and he makes this impromptu team much better than it would be without him. No question about that. But one more time, you have to skip something. You cannot spend on every single version with the second anniversary being around. We talked about how massive the second anniversary is, and you cannot pull for everything. Like, again, like, you could now come up with the argument, hey, yeah, then I didn't pull for pickles. I will skip Recoleta and fully invest into this impromptu team. That is not a good decision, guys. You give up one of the best teams in the entire game by not pulling for either Pickles or Muldia. You will have to have Melania. You will have to get that Recoleta. You need Kiparina for the impromptu team. Like, where do you get all these resources from, right? You have to save up somewhere. And this somewhere is gonna be Aleph. Sure, you would make your impromptu team stronger with that, but you would sacrifice a whole lot for other better teams that you will want to have later, right? That's the whole point. Aleph is a good character, yes, but his release timing, everything around him is unfortunate for him, and he is the best skip. And I didn't even mention Ezra. Yeah, I mean, anyways, like, sorry about that. This will be the last time. I had to get it out of the way one more time, and yeah, that's gonna be the last time I will ever talk about this. So, what makes this team quote-unquote better than the follow-up team? Because if you look at the individual characters in this team, especially if this team doesn't have Aleph, which it most likely for most players will not have, then the follow-up team looks much, much better, right? With Fatudu, Flutter Page, and Giu, like, the way more crazy characters. But the synergy here is like through the roof, actually. And there are so many like slot-in characters. Like, you don't have to have Baccarola, you could then use Regulus. You don't have Aleph, as we talked about. You could use Matilda and stuff, right? But yeah, in terms of damage, this team is probably, all things considered, outmatch the follow-up team. Although the follow-up team is, especially with Fatutu, more on the defense side. So these teams are very, very on very, very equal footing. Without Aleph, I would even say the follow-up team would take this spot number 4 and put the impromptu team on rank number 5, right? So yeah, feel free to switch these positions around as you like. But for now, let's move on to rank number 3. At rank 3 we have this poison team. Now this one highly depends. Where does it land? On rank 3, 4 or 5. That solely depends on how good the Jessica Euphoria will actually be. My prediction is this team will end up at rank 3 because they already made Jessica's first Euphoria pretty weak, and she's the first character in the entire game that receives the Euphoria number 2. And if you ask me, I would predict they will get this Euphoria right and make it very, very strong. Maybe even a little bit too strong, you know what I mean? So the probability, as I see it, is very, very high that Jessica's Euphoria will elevate this poison team to new heights. But it does, keep in mind, right, it doesn't matter how good the Jessica Euphoria will actually turn out to be. This team will be a top team nonetheless. It might just drop a rank or 2 if this Jessica Euphoria is not as good as I think it will be. And that's gonna be about it, right? Like, again, emphasis on that. It all depends on the Jessica Euphoria. If it's good, it's rank 3, this team. If it's not that good, it drops to rank 5. And there you have the poison team. That's already all I have to say about it, because this team is around for a very, very long time and everyone knows how this goes by now. So before we jump into the top tier teams, these two teams will be the best teams in the game. No question about it. Like, you really don't have to be a genius to predict that. But before we jump into these two, let me give you an honorable mention real quick. The honorable mention is this Dynamo team. Now, yeah, there are a couple of reasons here, mainly 2. First of all, Ezra will have to be part of this team, and you also want to play Ezra though in another team, in probably a better team. That's gonna be a problem. And this, even if you play Ezra in this team, then with this Euphoria that she uses in this team will probably not get the job done as a healer. So you would want to slot in a real healer here, and this team also doesn't have a healer yet. So yeah, there are still, this team is gonna be, like, don't get me wrong, this team is gonna be strong right out of the gate regardless, you know. But for a top 5 team in the game, it has too many holes, and there's too much missing and too many shenanigans going on here to put it in the top 5, right? I think the top 5 teams, they are all more fleshed out, more finished, and have overall like more consistency. So this team will take, yeah, whatever, how many patches to come online. Once there is a new character in one of the next patches released for this team is gonna take off and probably be then a top 5 team in the game. But that is all speculation. All the information that we have right now is until version 2.8, and if we would look further in the future, that would be pure speculation and kind of nonsensical to do. So as this team is in version 2.8, there's too much wrong with it, and therefore it lands only as an honorable mention. Now we can move on to what I put as rank number 2. Now keep in mind, this could also be rank number 1. But yeah, you see, you have Recoleta here. It's already as well established knowledge that she is one of the best DPS characters in the game, even in 2.8. Then she highly profits and goes very well with a character that we get on the 2nd anniversary with Muldir, who, if you read her kit, she is completely out of control busted. So that already makes 2 very top, like S+ tier characters in this team too, that synergize very well together. Then you have this incredibly good Melania Euphoria that you can go for, slot into this team. Incredible. And you can even go for Pickles in case you did not want to. invest into Melania, right? Or you skipped Pickles and you did go for Melania. It doesn't matter at this point anymore. And then, yeah, for the healer, this team does not have their signature healer anymore. You put in any healer here, it doesn't matter. Anything that heals will be fine in this team, because Recoleta is gonna obliterate the competition anyways, right? So you won't need much heal there, because the fight will be over before you take a lot of damage, except if you do reveries. But yeah, I mean, you get the point, right? This team is gonna be absolutely incredible and completely busted. This is gonna be either the or the second best team. I predict the second best team, but we will get into this more when we talk about rank 1. That's why I'm telling everyone, like, go for Recoleta. That's a must pull. It's gonna be one of the best teams, and there's no questioning that. Like, if you doubt this team, you are out of your mind. We gotta be honest, right? I'm speaking my mind, I'm talking honest, and that's just the reality of the situation. So yeah, enough about that. Let me show you what I predict to be the number 1 best team in the game in version 2.8. The best team in the game in 2.8 will most likely be the Blood Ember team. Let me just, in case it's needed to explain, right? Let me do that real quick. Why do I think this team will be the best team in the game as soon as the second anniversary comes around? That is simply because with Nautica, we get a new main DPS character on an anniversary. That character will bring a unique mechanic that we have never seen before into this game. Not only is this a brand new mechanic, but this is an improvement to a mechanic that we already have in the game, and that improved mechanic is already top tier. Semmelweis, this team is for a very, very long time, and right now in version 2.5, one of the best teams in the entire game. And at the second anniversary, we turn this main DPS from this HP burn team, which is Semmelweis, into a support for a new main DPS that we get on the second anniversary that brings a new mechanic. Like, that is absolutely insane. Like, let that sink in and think about it for a moment. If you doubt that, that would be hilarious, honestly. So why do I question if this will be actually the number 1 best team? And do believe that Recoleta's team could actually take over the number 1 spot. That is because I am more convinced of Recoleta's teammates. Like Moldia and Melania or Pickles, they convince me more than Eternity and Ezra would convince me. And this is where the question that I have comes in, right? Will this Blood Ember team still be better than the Recoleta team? Even though the Recoleta team is more complete and has like more top tier characters in it compared to this Blood Ember team. That is the only thing why I leave this decision up in the air and say it is kind of speculative, right? Now, of course, we can speculate further and yeah, dive into nonsense and say, oh, the next patch with 3.0 will release a replacement for Eternity or some stuff like that. You know, that is not what we're gonna do here. We look at how far we can actually look and base everything we say on facts and on knowledge that we already have. And that knowledge tells us, without any question, crystal clear, that this Blood Ember team and the Recoleta team will be the best teams in the game. Which one of those will truly be number 1 right on 2.8? That remains to be seen a little bit. It also, of course, depends on, kinda depends on how many portraits you have for Recoleta and how many portraits you will have for Nautica. I say kind of because that should not be any question. Of course, you're gonna pull for more portraits for Nautica. I already explained why. This is a second anniversary, new main DPS with a new mechanic. There's no way you would put resources into Recoleta and then not into Nautica, right? Unless you would skip this team entirely, because you are not interested in Ezra, you don't have Semmelweis, you don't have Eternity, right? If you skip Nautica, then sure, then you can go for portraits for Recoleta. But you cannot pull for portraits for Recoleta and then still pull portraits for Nautica. That is not gonna work out. That would be dumb. So yeah, plan ahead wisely. Look at my pull plan and spend your resources wisely and accordingly to whatever your account needs, right? Or like what you want. But yeah, don't be too inefficient, and you might cry at the second anniversary if you do not plan ahead well right now. That's it for the videos, guys. Let me know what you think about that in the comment section down below. If you like Reverse 1999 content in general, please consider leaving a follow on my channel. I would really appreciate that. I will leave a link to my reworked Discord server in the description of this video. Feel free to join up there, that would make me happy. But until next time, take care of yourselves, have a great day, and we love this game.